built-in microphone. Maybe, huh, that's not right. That should. Alright, we might have to just go with this. I see that there is some sound bouncing, but I don't know if you can hear me or not. Let me know if you can. Now it works, okay. Sorry about that, folks. So, always the audio issues. Alright, anyway, thanks for coming. Hopefully we can get something out of this today. It's been one of those days, you know, it's been one of those days where you have stuff set up and it supposedly works, but then things just go wrong in the last minute. How that happens, I don't know. So at least my switcher works. I have two machines here, MacBook Pro. This is the 2019 edition MacBook Pro with an i9 chip and 64 gigs of RAM. So we're gonna try to pair this up or pin it against the new M1 today. This is MacBook Air, of course. Now, I did mention that I'm getting the MacBook Mini in the mail. I got the Mini and I did some tests with it and I compared it to the MacBook Air. Both of them have the exact same chip, the M1 chip, and I saw virtually no difference in performance. So that's why I thought, okay, it's kind of pointless to demo that because they have the same exact performance. I did some JavaScript builds. The one difference that I noticed was really minor, and it has to do with this code right here. I don't know who is out there a .NET developer, if anybody. So if you are a .NET developer, you might recognize this. This is just a console app, C#, and I ran this for 100 million. This loop, it's a for loop, it's 100 million times, and I paired up the Mac Mini versus the MacBook Air, both of them with the M1 chip, and the Mac Mini won by like a second. So I'd say they're pretty much on par. So that's why I'm not going to be bothering to hook that up during this live demo at least. Alright, so I don't know if any of you brought any kind of questions you want to see, but I figured I'd just kick things off by showing you a failed attempt today. Who here uses, I mean, there's a bit of a delay, so if you do use virtualization, just put it in the comments, like things like VMware Fusion or Parallels. And I do happen to use that when I develop. I used to use VMware Fusion a lot when I developed Windows applications and web apps using .Net. And I did that on my MacBook Pro. And I switched to Parallels last year because I found it to be more stable, more reliable than VMware Fusion got. Now, VMware Fusion used to be top-notch. Right now, not so much anymore. So I figured I'd kick things off here because yesterday, Parallels announced that they are supporting the M1 chip now. So I went ahead and installed Parallels. You can see that right over here. So this is the MacBook Air that you're seeing right now. So Parallels is installed, but it was working perfectly fine this morning. I got Windows ARM build specifically for this. So you can't use the old Windows images. You need to use the new ARM build images. So Parallels has a specific ARM build now that they're putting out in beta. Alright, so they released that yesterday. It's beta software, and the Windows 10 build for ARM is also beta software. So it's kind of expected that this is not going to go 100% smoothly. So as you can see, we got a little error here. I'm going to go ahead and send that report. Hopefully they'll get to fixing it. And this was actually working pretty well for me. I was kind of surprised. I installed Windows and ran it on Parallels on Mac. And what I wanted to do was open up a Visual Studio project and compare the build speeds between those two machines. And this one just right before the stream just started glitching out on me. So I can no longer I installed Visual Studio Community Edition on this, and I can no longer even interact with the windows here. So you can see Windows is running, and if I adjust the screen size, it catches up eventually, but it takes a while and it's not really stable. So I tried installing another Windows here. That's what you're seeing here actually. And it's the same result. It's not working. So hopefully we'll get to come back to this and do this again another time, because I'm really curious how this will perform against Parallels running on Intel chip. So for those folks that have a Mac, if you have a Mac and you're developing .NET applications, you can do that with a Mac. You can do that using the .NET SDK. And actually, I have a video coming up on doing that using .NET CLI. So you can do that, but you don't get the full Visual Studio experience, which is nice. I like Visual Studio. So we'll come back to that another time. Now, if anybody wants to see anything particular, put it in the comments, and I'll be reading that and following along. Let's see, we got 11 folks in here. Welcome, and thank you for putting up with the audio issues that I've had, and thanks for showing up today. Really appreciate you all. So I do have the .NET project set up here. Let's at least try and see that and how they pair up. So here is what it looks like. This is taking straight from the .NET repository for performance measurements. And as you can see, it's just a console application, pretty basic console app that has a for loop, and it has, you can specify how many times, and what it's doing is actually creating an RSA encrypted value here, 100 million times. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to save this. I'm going to say .NET run. I'm going to prepare that first. I'm not going to execute it yet. And let's go down here to my MacBook Air. I'm going to terminate Parallels here. And it keeps coming back. I need to shut it down. That's here. Okay, so I've shut that down. So you can see there are still a few issues here with Parallels. Hopefully they'll get it resolved. Let's quit that. And I'm going to quit it on my MacBook Pro also. So by the way, this screen right here that you're seeing, this is the MacBook Air, and the other one is MacBook Pro. Okay, for those folks that just joined us. So let's open up this project. I also have that same project loaded here. .NET run, and I'm going to go ahead and execute these at the same time to see who is going to come out on top. Now I've already done this before, so I kind of know, but just for all you folks, let's have a look. And when this is done, it's going to print all done. That one is going to print all done MacBook Pro wins. So let's keep an eye on that and see what happens. In the meantime, I'll take a look at your comments here. Android Studio. Okay, there's a couple of folks interested in Android Studio. Erez Or and Oza Dixit. Is it Dixit? I see you in the comments all the time, but I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I hope I'm saying it right. Alright, so right now, I wish I had a microphone I can put up to my computer because the MacBook Pro is just going nuts with a fan. This one's cool, the MacBook Air, but the Pro is just hot and the fan is just going nuts. So I think this test takes about a minute. Oh, okay, so look at this. The MacBook Pro finished. MacBook Air is a little bit behind here. So let's see how long it takes the MacBook Air to catch up. This is the new M1 chip, by the way. Anybody here do .NET development? Let me know in the comments, because this really affects you. And this is one of the things that I found about the new M1. Okay, now this is done. So that was maybe a 30-second difference between those. Yeah, so what happens is with JavaScript projects and with Xcode projects, I found that MacBook with M1 actually beats the MacBook Pro, the powerful MacBook Pro with 64 gigs of RAM. This one only has 16. And when it comes to .NET projects, the MacBook Pro seems to be the winner. So there you go. So yeah, I see that Aindra is a .NET developer. Saeb Panahifar is a .NET developer. So yeah, most of the time you're going to be working on Windows, right? If you have that. But if you do need to do like mobile development, you're going to need to have a Mac if you want to build it. And that's one of the reasons I got a Mac initially. So that requires you to run a virtual environment or build your applications using the newish .NET SDKs. All right, so we had some questions about. Oh, Oza also is works on .NET Core. So if there's any more .NET questions, I'm going to leave this in the background. Maybe we can come back to it. But some folks did ask about Android Studio. So let's take a look at that. I did install Android Studio here. Now I'm not, I do a lot of cross-platform development. I do native script development most of the time, so I don't deal with Android Studio a lot. I mostly deal with Visual Studio Code and writing JavaScript. So I might ask you guys to give me specifics on what you want to see, and we can have this more interactive that way. So I'm going to kick up Android Studio here on both machines. All right, there is the M1. Android Studio started up there, and here as well. So by the way, I got the new version 4.1.1 here on the M1 and 3.5.3 on the older but more powerful MacBook Pro. Hopefully the performance difference is not going to be affected by that version there. Maybe a little bit, so keep that in mind. Can you test million database insertions? Sure, I can do that. Just give me a database, give me a URL, and give me the code to run, and I'd be happy to run that right now. I'm not going to write the code to do that because that's just going to take too long, but I'd be happy to do that and report on the difference if you already have that ready somewhere. By the way, the database, I'm assuming you're talking about a database running locally, like a MySQL database or something running locally on the machine. So that would be a really good test, actually. I think that would be really cool to see, and I might do something like that. If you do have a repo that you'd like to share where this happens and I can easily just pop that open and run that, that would be really helpful and easier to do. Okay, so Android Studio. Let's go ahead and create a new project. Here and here. All right, so I'm gonna go with I don't know, basic activity, I guess. Camera UI. Oh, thanks for letting me know. That's awkward. How do I get rid of that? Yeah, thanks for letting me know about that. I bet you can see it on the other camera too, so let me change that. A lot of moving pieces here. Let's get back to it. All right, so there is the basic activity, and I'm going to click next on both of these. I'm going to try to synchronize these as much as I can, just so you can get an idea of how long things take. And let's go with Jelly Bean, just so they're the same, and finish. Okay, they're both working on stuff right now. They're both doing their usual builds and indexes and all that stuff. By the way, if I'm not doing something right, let me know in the comments there, because I don't typically work with this tool. I don't know, it looks like I can start using this already on the M1, but this one, I probably should open up some code, shouldn't I? Main activity. Huh. Where's my project? It's not showing up here yet, is it? So, yeah, they are showing slightly different things, but they're both actually working. There it is. There's main activity. So where's that? App. Source. Maybe it's the difference between the versions of Android Studio that's causing that. So Nino is asking, would it be possible to run Docker via VM in Parallels? I think Docker actually it relies on Intel architecture. So, that's actually a good question, because from what I read, now I'm not saying this is right, but from what I read, you need to have the ARM virtualization engine, which is Parallels. They're the first ones to come out with it, so Parallels would work for that, for ARM. Then you need to have the ARM operating system, which is the new beta build of Windows. But what I read was that you can run x86 programs on that virtual Windows. So maybe. However, what I think happens is with Docker specifically, it requires the underlying engine, the underlying virtualization technology to be of the same architecture. So to make the long story shorter, I don't know the answer to that, and it could go either way. Yeah. So right now Docker is known to be not supported, but we'll see what happens in the next weeks and months of development. All right. Saeb says some benchmark suites are memory intensive, some are CPU intensive, and some have no benefits with multi-core processing because of its overhead or its difficulty for utilizing. So yeah, that would be one of the biggest things that I've noticed as well here. If it's a really memory intensive process, usually the MacBook Pro wins. If it's a really CPU intensive process, then the MacBook Air wins. File I/O, I've noticed MacBook Air kills because it writes files really fast, and things like JavaScript projects mainly rely on a huge collection of files in node modules, and writing and reading those and installing new node modules and deleting the node modules folder and reinstalling it, which is something you commonly have to do, especially like in projects like native script projects. You want to clear that out, get new ones, and that ends up being faster on the M1. But things that are memory intensive, like we saw with the .NET project, that ends up being a MacBook Pro as the winner. All right, so we have some Android folks here. It says you need to have the same application directory view like Android or project view. You can change it middle top left side of Android Studio. Oh, and also says Docker community released beta version of ARM based Docker. Huh, gonna have to test that out. Things are definitely moving along. So let's see. Middle top left side of Android Studio. We might have to move on because I'm not too familiar with this. Middle, same directory application view like Android or project view. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Android Studio to figure that out. It's got a lot of tabs. What I can do is build this and see once everything settles down, and everything did settle down, I can build this and see what happens. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and build this. So I don't know why it has Pixel 3a there, and this one has Pixel 2. Those are the available devices. I don't know where the M1 is getting that as the available device because I don't have that plugged into the computer, and there is no Pixel 3a emulator installed on the device. But I'm curious to see what would happen. I did install the release of Android emulator, beta release, on the M1. I'm wondering if it's going to just detect it if I run it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to run this at the same time and see if we get anything. And after this, we'll come back and try create a React app. The version that I have here is 4, and over here is 3. I should have done the same version, of course, for the best comparison. Alright, here we've got the emulator popped up on the Pro. And on the M1, it's running the build, but it's probably not going to find the emulator by itself unless I start it up. And of course, the MacBook Pro is kicking up some hot air up here. You can use it as a fan. This one's still building. So, a lot of times my emulator here just gets stuck on the black screen, but there it is, it's running now. Looks like it worked. This one is still, no, it says it's finished building. Performance could be improved, but it's not running, of course, because I need to kick up the emulator. So let's do that. Get this error, by the way, whenever you start up the new beta Android emulator. Can you see that? I hope you can see that. So some of the features are not going to be available. There's the emulator. It's kind of shoddy looking, but that's just beta, so understandable. Let's build this, and this should automatically detect the emulator running and install the app on it. Yeah, there we go. And you can see that was really fast. Let's do that again. I'm going to stop this, and I'm actually going to stop this one as well. Oh, I have some other apps there. Let's turn them all off. Wow. Okay. I'm going to press these at the same time and see who wins. I know, not a very scientific test, but, you know. Okay, so we saw that once the emulator was running, once the project was built, kicking it off actually was faster in the MacBook Pro than the M1 MacBook Air. I don't know the combination that goes in there between the processor processes and the memory bound processes, so I don't know what goes on behind the scenes as far as building an Android project, kicking up an emulator, and deploying the application and starting it up. So whatever the combination is, that was the result. Now, when I did an Xcode project, the M1 beat the MacBook Pro. It was much faster. But, you know, it's Xcode, it's all Apple, and it is running native Apple instead of Rosetta. Let's take a look at Activity Monitor and see what's going on here. If we take a look at the CPU, this one. Yeah. So right now I'm showing you the M1. If you take a look at the CPU, you can see that we have a bunch of stuff running as Intel right here. So the architecture is Intel. That means it's being translated by Rosetta. So not bad considering, right? It's being translated. The speeds are okay, and it's a much less powerful machine than the MacBook Pro. Very usable, I'd say. It's, you know, the performance of the UI or anything like that is not degraded at all while using this machine. So I get this question, I've seen this question in the last few weeks quite a bit. Would I start using the M1 instead of my MacBook Pro, my trusty old MacBook Pro? And I'm not that kind of person. I like to have a firm footing and a base to be able to go back to. So I'm not going to switch immediately. I'm going to wait a year until a MacBook Pro is available with the new MX chip or the M2 chip, and then I'm going to give it another try in a year. So I'm not switching right now. I'm going to try this out, see how things develop in the next year, keep using my MacBook Pro for development work, and in the meantime, during the next year, who knows how long it's going to take companies to catch up for developing and building their software to support the new architecture. It might take, I don't know, a few months before we see software from some of these vendors that we use. Like VMware Fusion and Parallels. Parallels already has the beta out, but it's not stable, as I demonstrated at the beginning of this. So, yeah, we need software developers to hook us up and to support this before committing. Now, it depends what you're doing, of course. If you are going to be doing a lot of JavaScript work, that's all ready to go. So in fact, we're going to take a look at that. If there's no more questions about Android Studio, I'm sure you all have questions. I shouldn't say that. You all want to get your hands on it and try it out. If there's anything specific, we can come back to this. Let me know down in the comments there. But I want to switch over to Create React App and see how quickly that works. So let's do that. Let's see some of your comments. So Erez says, can you run an emulator on M1 Mac? There it is, running. It's a beta version. I think Apple M1 is suitable for memory intensive and Intel chip suitable for CPU intensive. I would say the other way around from what I've seen. So I would say that for things that are supported natively on the M1, anything CPU bound is going to be better on the M1, even on a severely underpowered machine like this MacBook Air. So, all right, let's check out Create React App. Let's start over here. I'm going to shut down the emulator and Android Studio. Terminate. Yep. I've never done the Create React App yet, so this is going to be interesting, new for me as well. Boom, 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 boom. All right. What's the command for that? I wish I remembered. Let's go over here while getting that ready. I'm going to shut this one down. And okay, that's good to go. Let's open up Terminal. Wow, typing sideways is hard. Okay, so we need to create React App. Anybody remember the command for that? Very simple. Thanks, Queen G. npx create React App. Love that. And then the project name will be my React App. So creative, right? so I'm about to run this. I got this set up on both machines. Alright, let's do it. I'm going to hit enter at the same time and see who wins. Ooh, MacBook Air is winning. They're kind of on par, aren't they? It's not a huge difference here so far. By the way, if anybody has a huge repository you want to see me build, throw that down in the comments and we can try building that. Because the Create React app will just give you a hello world of React applications, so it's not going to be big. Also, I want you to note that right now my MacBook Pro is plugged into power and it's hot and it's making a lot of noise, while this one is just, it's like sitting in the fridge. Alright, so right now MacBook Pro is a little bit ahead. And this one has been unplugged for about an hour. With all the things that we've been doing, the battery is not even taking a hit. Alright, so you saw that it was pretty much the same, right? It was pretty much on par how long that took. So it didn't matter much. Let's go ahead and kick things off. NOx create. Oh, okay. Yeah, we already did that. Let's see. Right, running Android Studio and an emulator will max out 8 gigs of RAM and start swapping to SSD. Interesting. Yeah, that's probably what happens. So this, the MacBook Air is a 16 gig version. So even though it's going to swap, it's probably going to swap not that bad. Alright, let's run the React app now and see what happens there. What's the command for that? npm run build. npm run build. Okay, so I set that one up, MacBook Air. Now let's set this one up. That one is also set up now. So for those of you that are new, MacBook Pro here on the right, MacBook Air M1 on the left, and MacBook Pro is making all that noise. Don't blame me for that. Let's hit enter at the same time and see what happens here. Whoa. Oh. I need to go into that directory, don't I? I know you did say that. Okay, now we're ready. Now at some point, did something happen? Compiled successfully. They finished at the same time, it looked like. Okay, so we need to actually run this. I want to serve this. All right, so I guess this is the command for that. Anyway, we just built it, and you saw that the build was pretty much on par. And serving is probably serving a production build is probably not going to take that long on either machine. So there you go. There's Create React App. You saw equal footing on both these machines, about the same, except this one is going to cost you a lot more than this one. Let's see, this one was like almost $4 grand for this machine, maybe 3,800 or something. This machine, which seems to have the same speed as that one, for at least a lot of the tests we're doing today cost just about $1,000. Yeah, Knox. Andra says, never mind, big typo. I wonder what would happen if I run Knox create react. Probably nothing. But you never know. There could be a secret Knox command. Who knows? Nope. No Knox command. Anybody else have any other things they want to see here? Any Angular folks out there? So let me know if you like this kind of format. I will try to get the audio fixed next time so we don't spend 10 minutes in the beginning trying to figure that out. That always seems to be my issue. Maybe I'll stop using OBS and use some other software. So yeah, if I don't see any more comments about things you want to see, we can try this again. Just let me know in the comments if you do like this format. Things that are just a little bit more live and ad hoc, and you'll see things in real time. It takes a little longer than my edited videos, but you know, it's more interaction. This way I get to talk to you folks. And I really appreciate you all. Thanks for coming out. So what was the result of today? Well, it looks like the MacBook Air, at least all the things that we've tried, minus Parallels and Windows, the beta builds, all the things we've tried seems to be on par. But throughout my testing before today, the MacBook Air actually kicks some serious butt in some of the instances. Like for example, a native script build, it really came out on top. Xcode builds come out on top. And that could also be attributed to the fact that I open it up and I start my test. This machine's been running for about an hour and a half now and doing some intensive work. That means that maybe, because it doesn't have a fan in it, maybe it's reached some kind of state where it needs to throttle its CPU. It's possible. And in that case, what would happen is it'll throttle and it'll slow down a little bit. But we didn't see any detriment, like we didn't see any huge slowdown because of that. It still kept up with the MacBook Pro and saving you a ton of money. It's not a bad development machine, I would say. And again, I already told you my thoughts on whether I'm going to upgrade now, and I'm going to wait until next year to upgrade. So while all the software vendors are catching up, and next year, the MacBook Pros, if we saw this kind of result this year, next year it's going to be insane. I can't wait to see what happens. So there you go, folks. Thanks a lot for coming, and hopefully this was helpful or educational or entertaining. And if so, I'd appreciate you following and giving me a thumbs up, and I will see you all next time. See ya.